Welcome to SCBWI Carolina's Book Fairies First Look. I'm your host, Mickey Bear. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to picture book author and illustrator LaRonda Gardner Middlemiss. LaRonda is the author of I Love Me, Beaming Books 2020, and Do You See Me, Roaring Brook Press 2026. She also illustrated Meet Frida Amenze Friday by Doris Imahirabu Imoyning, Clear Fork Publishing 2025. She is the recipient of the 2019 SCBWI Carolinas Annual Art Contest Award and a member of Storyteller Academy. Storytime with her son immersed her in the wonderful world of picture books, inspiring her to create art and write stories of her own. She aspires to empower, enlighten, and entertain children across the globe through her work. She lives in Mint Hill, North Carolina, with her husband and son. Welcome, LaRonda.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks so much for doing this with us. So, before we get into the interview, let me tell you about LaRonda's latest release, Do You See Me? This joyful and affirming picture book from author LaRonda Gardner Middlemiss and New York Times bestselling illustrator Reggie Brown invites young readers to dream boldly, live proudly, and embrace their superpower, seeing themselves as they truly are. Do you see me? Yes, I do. I see someone whose heart is true. Follow a young girl and her mother on a blustery afternoon's adventure as they discover the power of community and the wonders of self-reflection. Through rhythmic repetition and warm affirmations, this picture book celebrates the beauty and strength that exists within every child, their courage, their drive, their minds, free and wild. LaRonda, I absolutely love the focus on seeing people for who they are inside. But what really stood out for me was how you turned it around to ensure we see ourselves in a similar and strong, positive light. What was your inspiration for this book?
Thanks for that. So I thought about the exact inspiration. I can't say for sure, like the exact moment, but to see my son and probably his preschool mates, seeing them and observing them doing things in all their innocence, right? And children, they want to know that a parent or an adult sees them. Like they're doing this thing, it's like, do you see me? And then I thought about, yes, you see your child in all this innocence. And then, but when the parent or the adult looks at the child, they see deeper, they see more, they see what that child could be. Like in years beyond, there's something, some spark there that they see, right? And then as the book comes to an end, it's like as the adult is pouring this into the child, these words, that the child now sees themselves based on what's been said to them. They see themselves deeper than that momentary innocence of what they were doing. But like this accumulation of things, and now they see themselves for what they are and what they could be, even, as they're growing and learning. That's, I thought it would be an interesting take on a children's book.
Well, what was the story's path? How did you get from that idea to publication?
So it's been a journey. I thought back, it's been about 9 years actually. I had to dig back into some old files and things. So I found this log where I had initially input the idea back in early 2017. And then I found a file. I had an iPad crash. It was devastating. We shouldn't talk about it, but I had an iPad crash. But I found a file where it was my initial draft, which was later in 2017. And I worked on it. It was the first pass at it for me. And for whatever reason, working on other things or what have you, it was kind of set to the side, or I just couldn't like pull it all out of me, the completed version. And then it was in 2019, like late 2019, there was a lot of conversation in the world about like young Black girls and Black women. There's a lot of discussion going on. And that took my mind back to this book, this manuscript. And so then I started working on it and like pushing through and getting it all down. And then I shared it with my agent at the time in 2020. And I think there were some suggestions on potential edits there. And then it went on submission. And in late 2020, early 2021, Roaring Brook Press editor, we got on the phone. She was interested, but we got on the phone to talk about it and my inspiration for the book and what I saw for the book. And I spoke to her about the initial inspiration, but then all of the things that were going on that pushed me to finish the manuscript. It was a very passionate conversation. But she liked it. She liked where I was coming from with it. Well, a question she asked me at the time was whether I would be open to broadening it beyond, because at that time there was specific reference to girl in the closing of the book. So we don't want to just close it off to like girl. So broaden it, and I was open to it, but I didn't want to go too far from where what the intent of it was. And so she was on board, she bought it. And then we got to the path for illustrators, looking for an illustrator. And the person that I wanted was not available like right then. It was like, would you be willing to wait? And I said yes. So it was acquired in 2021, announced in 2022 with the slated release date of fall of 2024. And here we are in 2026. So it's been quite the journey, but I am so grateful that it is about to be released to the world. So that was a long answer, but it's been a long path for the book. Yeah.
Well, so was Reggie Brown the person you were waiting for, and were you familiar with his work?
He was, yes, and yes. So I was familiar with Reggie's work and not necessarily associated with his name. I don't know how far before this whole, him coming into the fold for illustrating this book, but there was an image that had come across my social media feed at one point, and it was this little boy on his belly with his feet kicked up and behind him, and there were these picture books with notable titles out, laid out in front of him. And I just thought it was the cutest image. It was so adorable, and that image stuck with me. And I likely saw some of Reggie's work, again, not necessarily tying the name to it like along the way on social media, but whenever I was presented with a list of names of illustrators, and I started looking through like their work and whatever, and I saw that kid on his portfolio, and I was all in. And so what it came back to me from my editor was that he did like the manuscript, however he was booked, and would I be willing to wait for him, or did I want to reach out, have them reach out to some different illustrators? And I said I will wait, and thus I did. So, and I was glad I did. Yeah.
So, but you also are an illustrator. From that perspective, what did you think of Reggie's illustrations when you first saw them?
Yeah. Illustrator, learning and growing. I'm fairly new to the space. So I would say when I first saw Reggie's work, like some of the rough sketches early on, my initial thought was his take on the manuscript, right? To what how his mind worked and the setting for it. And it was so interesting to me, that he took it there. I liked it. So, and then he had this little dog sketched in there, and I was like, it reminded me of a dog that we no longer have, passed away quite some years ago. It was a dog that my husband had before we were together, and he became my little buddy. His name was Marty, and it ended up that the dog was still gray like the dog was, with no input from me. So it was just, it was great seeing it, and then as process moved forward and then seeing the renderings and the colors and how rich they were in the way he depicted the ocean, and then a scene in the book, excuse me, a spread in the book where the water's splashing. I just blown away by it. I knew I would be, but just blown away. But I knew I'd love it. But yeah, great work.
Yeah, it's very interesting what illustrators, their perspectives that they bring to the work when they see the writing and read it and interpret it their way. And it just ended up beautifully done in this collaboration between you and Reggie. I think it looks fantastic. It adds another layer to the story, which is beautiful. Now, how do you envision parents, caregivers, educators using Do You See Me with young children?
What I like is for not only as the adults are reading these books, but hopefully they see what I saw, like that idea that I had, where you're seeing the kid, they're doing these things, but to speak and pour into those children just words that they can breathe in, take in, and carry with them and know and see themselves for who they are and who they could be. That is my hope. And they can have conversations with children, like as they read the words on the page, and then take that and broaden it out. Like if you say there's a line in there, the first thing's coming to mind is like seeing you in uplifting voice. Like what does that mean? Is that a child who is an orator, who does writings, poetry, is like a public speaker, things like that, or a singer, or they do it through their art, like theater. Just I guess it's endless with what they can have in conversations, just sparking conversations with children around the things that they could be.
Oh, I love that. So that pretty much, I think that answers what are your hopes for this book, but do you have other aspirations for the book or where you see it going or how you see it being used in different ways? Like what are your hopes and vision for this book?
I would say in the most simplest way, my hope is that the book reaches every kid, parent, adult teacher relationship that needs it. That is my hope. Yeah.
So what is next for you? What projects do you have in the works?
So what's next for me? Well, I will say I have a couple of events in early May for the book. And then beyond that, I am working on refining manuscripts, picture book manuscripts. I need to get back into working on a dummy for a book, and I'm also agent querying. So that that in itself is a project. That's what's on my plate right now.
So obviously we need to stay up to date with your writing and your illustrating as you move forward. How can fans stay up to date with you and follow you and stay in touch?
So I am not the best social media person in terms of, uh, you know, posting things. I'm trying to be better with that, but I am on Instagram. My handle is I am LG Miss. I am also on Blue Sky, and I'm on TikTok, but I don't understand TikTok. I'm just gonna say. I'm just saying my age here. And then my website is isketch.com. So
Ooh,
those are places. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm also on Facebook with my name. It's LaRonda Gardner Middlemiss author. You can find me there as well.
I love your website name. That is fantastic, actually. LaRonna, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today on Book Fairies First Look, and congratulations again on the release of Do You See Me?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate it.